Good morning, traders. This is Perry Wilkie with StartupTrading.com. It is Wednesday, September 9th, 2020, 8:39 a.m. Eastern Time. So before we get into today, just let's look back at a little bit of a longer-term chart again. So we had this, and this is only regular trading hours only that I've got displayed. So between the bells of Wall Street, no overnight on this. So as we look at, really, as we had that rise up and before COVID in February, right? We had our little fall. We bombed on March 23rd, right? We started come back up, right? So basically, we broke out at the beginning of August, started making some way above those highs, and really in earnest around August 21st, right? Started breaking above those previous all-time highs. There wasn't that many trading days above those previous all-time highs, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 trading days that were really above those all-time highs, and we really ramped up there pretty quick, right? So in the last one, two, we're not going to count Monday, 3 days, right? We've come back down, and if I turn the overnight session on, just so we can see the overnight action, we've come back down now, right, to the area that we really broke out from, right? So we've come back down here, we've bottomed. So potentially, right, all we've done is retested this area that we only spent a little bit of time and energy above, right? This is the breakout here, or the failure, right? This previous all-time high. This is where we, got to. So I just want to point out. So as we're, moving up and down, a lot of the headlines get that, the market's sold off so quickly, but no one really bitches or complains when it moves up quick. So it needed to come back down and recheck this level, right? I would like to see this rechecked in the regular trading hours, but if if the market gave me everything I wanted in life, there wouldn't be enough money for anyone else. So that's not going to work out. So as we look at, really what's going on here, and remember, we're likely to be opening up inside of the middle of yesterday's value for the most part. So we're going to turn back off that extended. But keep in mind where we've come from. We only really spent a few days on this massive ramp up, right? We've come back down. All we've done is a little bit of a recheck. So with that being said, let's go back to the ES, and we're just going to look at this recheck. So I always look at the level 4s for the day. Each and every day. They're just a simple calculation. You can Google it, floor trader pivot levels, basic stuff here. But it gives you a parameter of a range. And these S4As, which is displayed here, and on my other grid, I'll show you, I have an S4B. I have them marked separately. So, but anyways, these level 4s are good, extreme boundaries for the day. So I like to know where the extreme boundaries are for any given day, more than likely. And around 7 days out of the year, right, we'll really start going above or below a level 4, right? We'll blow out a level 4. And we've only had, I think, 2 this year. So we're getting late in the year. So I'm not saying today's going to be one of those days, because you should always plan that it's not going to be one of those days. So anyways, just look at level 4s. We got 34.40 basically on the high side and 32.31 on the low side. As we zoom in really to the recent action overnight, and we see, what's going on here. So we're unlikely, these blue boxes above are single prints or raceways. They're where little timer energy was spent when we traded the action, right? They're likely to be first touch resistance on the way up, or unlikely to get anywhere near those today. So, that's not on the table. So as we look back at yesterday's action, so as we were, failure to hold above this all-time high, we come back in at, yesterday, we come back up, we checked off the bottom, and I have it drawn as a zone because to me everything's a zone. I don't usually use specific levels. I'll enter on a specific level, right? But I want to know where the area is that to be, above or below. So we are below this breakout level. We checked up above it. We closed on the lows. Futures were closed for the bell rings here. We have another 15 minutes. Then the futures close. We're closed for 15 minutes, and then they open up for another 30 trade. Then they're closed for an hour. So during that hour, stocks got massively worth less, right? Because we gapped down, right? Because stocks are so much worth less, right? We had this little capitulation here, and then coming out of that capitulation, right, we are, starting to smoke up. And as you look at this low, uh, that we've hit in here, basically it's been almost a little bit of a short squeeze pattern so far, but all we've done is get back up to yesterday's point of control, right, which should be an area of attraction. That's where the most amount of contracts went off yesterday, and we're up near value area high. We're still under this all-time high zone breakout area, so we got some congestion. So there's a couple of things that might play out today. So as we think about how the day could go, right, we still have, a few days of traders that were really caught out of position on that long, few days up, and now we've accelerated down to the downside. They might not have had time to get out of their positions yet. That's what we can judge as we go move higher, right? How many of those people are above us? And I don't think it's going to take more than a few days to churn through at the most if the market wants to go higher, because we've already flushed some of the weak hands out, some of the more stubborn individuals that don't ever want to be wrong in their trade, right? They just want to scratch their trade when they get back up. They're still sitting up above us, so that's going to be a little bit of selling pressure as we go back up here. But remember, we only spent a few days up above this orange box. So as we trade, as we're thinking about all these things, right, we got value area high here. So we could end up just having an inside day, right? We could just sit here and trade in value, right? Maybe come up and touch yesterday's high and really not get any traction. That is definitely one scenario, and it's a scenario I would at least look for the AM session, right? We've already have a 74.5 point range for the overnight session. The market's probably a little exhausted here with all of this that's gone on. So as we look at all the indexes, right, and yesterday for the NASDAQ, I got my colors flipped because I've been using these blue boxes for raceways, which I usually use for salmon run closes and underwater closes. But since I'm not going to go back and recolor code everything because I'm lazy, so we have an underwater trades that went off in the NASDAQ yesterday. So I marked that as like this yellowish color here. So this underwater trade that went off of the NASDAQ, these are trades that went off after the bell before futures closed that were below the low of the day. Remember, we talked about that gap down last night. We gapped down into this area of the chart, right? And we've come back up. If you notice where the futures bottomed from as they, broke back above these underwater trades, they come back down. They really checked the top of that box and have coming up. And really, it's stalled around its point of control. The ES stalled around its point of control. The Dow is around its point of control, value area high. The point of control for the Russell is actually in the value area low zone, so it's a little bit of an odd liar there. It actually migrated prices lower. So look for the Russell to be potentially weaker today than the other indexes. Go figure, it's been like that for, 4.5 years? So today could be no different for it. So as we look at really the left side of this chart are internals and bell-to-bell fibs, just range, just so I can see, what part of the fib range we're in for the bell-to-bell. It's an obscure way to use fibs, but it's one that, I like to monitor. So as on the right side of this is a bull check and a bear check. So looking at the session overnight, right? So let's look back at yesterday's bell, right? So as we lost these highs, right, we come back down, we made a new low, we come back up, we held a halfway back short into the close, really didn't get anything until we did complete these, right? We traded under 33.15 quarter overnight. We traded all the way down to 32.95.50. So as we look at that, as we're coming back up, right now in the overnight session, coming out of these, holding the 38.2, come back down, check the 50, dip into it just a little bit, come up and hit our target, right? So now we're just sitting around here, and we really haven't got back to the 38.2 from completing this target, which would be at 33.41 half. So Jack's the fib expert. We'll get his opinion here in a little bit, but we are basically, I'm using this to gauge more of a little bit of a short squeeze pattern potentially, and then I'm watching the 61.8 and the neg 100. So that's 33.90, which I like for a target up above us, and then the neg 100 on that same draw, if we hit it later, is 34.12.44. If we go back and we look at where those level fours are, so 34.12 is still going to be under S3, so that is completely obtainable, right? We got level 4s at 34.39 half and 34.71 half. So if the bears really start getting squeezed, because if we go back and look at this, this is actually a bear trap that's been set by the, you can think about it, whoever sets the traps, but you have to consider it, it's the other side. So the bulls have set a bear trap, and the bears are more than willing to walk into it. So we'll have to see. Today is the bulls' day to lose. Don't try to fight the tape. Don't look to short the market until it proves it's shortable. If you are going to short this market, make sure you have your stops on the server and you're using at least 2.5. Some people use 2 to 1. I like 2.5 to 1 or better odds, right, where your stop is to your reward. And try to play it a little bit tighter to the vest if you're going to be shorting it. They may end up working out beautiful if the bulls blow their day. So going back to looking at these sequences, so we can see that we're holding these levels in the overnight session so far. There's nothing to think, or no reason to think that they're not going to continue to hit targets to the bullish side today. And as we look at the bears, right, coming out of this low, every time we make a new high, the hope is reset for them that they're going to get something going, and they have not been able to. That's the ES. Looking at the NASDAQ, very similar picture, holding that halfway back long. Look at the NASDAQ yesterday, coming out of that high, really holding a 38.2 short, holding the 38.2 short, or holding the 61.8, I'm sorry, and coming back down here, and it completed targets right as we were closing yesterday's session. Coming out of that low, right that it was at 11,040 half, coming down, we ended up going down, even further to 10,935 quarter. Coming out of that, again, the halfway back long holding, completing the first target. The 38.2 for that draw will be 11,158 quarter, and the neg 168 or the neg 68 up there is going to be 11,359.75 basically. Looking at the Russell, very cleanly holding the halfway back, where the others kind of slipped in the halfway back a little bit. The Russell was even right there, and it also stopped right at these targets. So hitting, an entry on a fib after, a major sell-off, and then, starting to complete targets, this is something that you need to pay attention to today. So I know I'm kind of beating this a little bit up more than I normally do. I gave myself a little bit more time for this video. So let's start off with the Dow, which I think the Dow and the Russell are the weakest links. So as we look back at this market, this blue area that I didn't extend because I didn't want to, wash out all these trades, but you can extend this blue box in your head over here. That's where this high volume node is. That basically runs from 27,682 to 27,921. As we look at that, that's, basically where we are right now. So the Dow could just sit today in that zone and really get nothing else going. If we look at what happened on this pullback, right? Yesterday we come back down to 27,462, come back up, right? That was the low of the day. Come back down overnight, really flushed out, gap down, and then got close to this 27,100. This is really the break that the Dow had that was meaningful. So I'm still very bullish on the Dow, even though I don't trade it, but I have a bullish bias on it above this 27,100. Going under there, right, you're going to need to start looking for bearish trades, in my opinion, and use that as your stop. And that'll happen sometime in the future. Remember, we have the title of this video is the last full day of September is an equity front month, right? Tomorrow, traders will start flipping from September, some of them, and they'll start playing December contracts. Come Friday, after tomorrow's close, when we open back up at 6 p.m. tomorrow night, the front month will be December. And then a lot of the other trading platforms will be switching sometime between now and when it expires. But this September contract will expire on the opening bell next Friday. So if we look at where that is, that's going to be Friday the 18th, the opening bell. That's going to be a day. That's going to be a vacation day. Circle that on your calendars. That's your vacation day as a trader. Go do something else. So as we look now, let's go on to the Russell. And the Russell had the same thing, right? This is the area, the whole time we were up here, I said, we need to get back into this orange area. So I finally said, I don't know if we're going to be able to get there. Let's look at this orange line instead. So we, hit there at the end of last week, come back up, had a decent bounce, but it was short-lived, right? We got under there, we come back down, and we even traded below that level, right? So now that we've, the last couple of days of fiddle farting around with our lows, I think that that's really the line that you want to watch is this zone still. I'm still a little bit more bearish for the Russell below 1507.40 and a little bit more bullish above 1514.90. And it's, just barely above that level right now, but that should lead up at least to a retest of 1534.30. Maybe not today, but I think this week. Let's go to the NASDAQ. And then, we were just going through all these levels. So yesterday, I was talking about this is the zone, right, that's going to be difficult to churn through. And I still think that if we just box this out, right, this is the congestion area, right, that we should find support for the market. If we're going to remain, bullish, and again, the NASDAQ had a few more days up before it started falling down. But if you look at how many days down now compared to how many days up, it's getting pretty close to, I think the bears, if they can't get under this zone, and I'm really going to call it 10,940, if we can't start trading under there, the bears are just toast, right? They're going to have the Lucy and Charlie Brown again, and we're going to start at least making our way back up to 11,927 over the next several sessions. That's where the market's going to want to retest. That's where the most narrow consolidation took place above, and that's, to me, the most meaningful consolidation above. When we got some leg starts down to get up there, but I think that's really... that'll be the line in the sand, and we'll probably get a little bit of a pullback if and when we do get there on a first test, and then we'll see if that becomes support later in time. And you're really going to watch this basically 12,000 area after it does that. So we'll look at the ES. I usually don't do all of this every day, but it's been a while since we've looked at it. And we do have the Bank of Canada at 10 o'clock for rates. If anyone plays crude oil, that can affect the price of crude oil, the Canadian spot market for their currency exchange. So this 3392 to 33,000.5, right? This was the gold box that I have drawn on here that's been on here for a while that I wanted to see trade for the ES. It traded in the overnight session. I'd have really preferred that it traded during the bells, but again, like I said, the market doesn't give you everything you want. So I was able to get some of this last night, still holding some of it. And as we, because I am mainly an ES player, 99% of my trades are ES only, and it's been months since I even traded another product. So as we look back, at where resistance could come in, we like to pick out lows, right? So I think that this consolidation, basically right at 33.95, that's going to be important if we get up there later today, and as we head towards 34.23 potentially later this week. But this is a zone, right? We've got to get over 33.95 first, and then we can always retrace back down to 33.23. And you can see that support after we crossed above it in the overnight session. That's where it got bid from. So that's going to be a key place to watch going forward, and it's a clear line in the sand. So let's look at all the indexes, kind of put a wrap on this. So what we started off with thinking about was, right, we're either going to have an inside day, right, which an inside day, let's be perfectly clear, that would be a win for the Bears today, right? Today is the Bulls should be able to squeeze this up into this orange box, if not above the top of it later today. So that's really what is on deck, and that's, if the market is as strong as it looks and it has been, we're going to end up closing above 33.94 half today. So keep that in mind. Again, with your shorts, have your stops on the server. They could end up working out if the Bulls blow their chance today to really put it to them. But don't be screwing around. Don't be shorting with no stops on the server today. I hope this helps. You guys have a great day, and I'll talk